knock at the door was it was very emotional, and it was just kind of a sense of closure to. I always said I never ever thought of being a Hall of Famer, but to have that happen, it was a tremendous feeling.
Andre, kind of a two-parter. I remember when Coach Kubiak came in, and after that first week of training camp, he said, "Man, this Andre Johnson guy, this guy, he works so hard," and he had compared you to some great ones, Hall of Famers, the work ethic. And the other part of that is talking to Kubiak last week, he said, I think once Andre, we talked about it, and he agreed to move around on the field positions, slot, wide receiver, whatever. That's when he began to flourish. I would just like your thoughts on that, and do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't really feel like my career took off until Kubiak became our head coach. The first year, he didn't really move me around a lot. And, like he said, he came to me and talked about it. He was like, hey, I'm going to have to move you around. You're going to have to learn everything that goes on in the offense and learn every position. So if you look at some games, there was some games I even lined up at fullback, and he would motion me out, of the backfield and things of that nature. So I really, I give Coach Kubiak a lot of credit because, he, I guess it was just something he saw, in me as a player, and it helped elevate my game. It helped take my game to another level. So I give Coach Kubiak a lot of credit.
Andre, who was some of your inspirations growing up that you were able, during your playing days, able to, think about and kept you pushing and got you to the point to where you are now?
Jerry Rice was my favorite wide receiver to watch. I tell people hands down he's the best receiver to ever play the game. Probably even could be mentioned as one of the greatest players to ever play. But I watched a lot of different players growing up. It wasn't just wide receivers. Marshall Faulk, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders was always my favorite running back. Dan Marino to me is, I know he hadn't won all the Super Bowls, but to me, he's my favorite quarterback to ever play the game. So there was a lot of people I watched just growing up, and to be now sitting in the room with those guys is it really hit me just going to the luncheon and being around all those guys.
Andre, what are the feelings that you have when you think back to draft night and you're sitting there with your mom, you're able to hug her as soon as the announcement's made, Chris knocks on the door, she shrieks, you're able to hug her as soon as that happens. What do those things, those moments, and her mean to you?
It's great. She's been right there from the start. From Little League to now, she's been right there. Never. I don't even think she's missed a game. From Little League all the way up to I retired. So she's been right there the whole time. She's been there to experience everything, and I'm glad she got to experience that. I know it really meant a lot to her.
I'm sorry. Your former teammates. This was an emotional announcement for them and a night for them. What was it like to share them, and what does their never wavering support kind of mean to you as you kind of share this with those guys?
Man, it's been crazy. I probably had about 500 text messages. I literally just finished the last little bit yesterday, but I at least wanted to respond to everybody. But just being around the guys, I haven't got to see a lot of my teammates. I've seen J. Joe. Since I've been back, I got to see D'Amico right after it was announced at the honors, and man, the emotion is crazy. Like, the dude's so excited, you know. Like, when D'Amico saw me, he just hugged me, and you know, he was like, "Man, this lasts forever. Like, you know, you did it." And and it's a great feeling.
Can you talk about, you said it's not something that you've ever really thought about, right? You just wanted to be great at what you do. What do you think made it so emotional, you know, for something that you had never really thought about growing up? What is it that took it to that?
You don't. I've watched a lot of people get that knock at the door, and you know, when you watch it, it's just like sometimes you question. You like I always think of the one knock I always think about is the Jimmy Johnson when they surprised him on Fox, and you know, and Jimmy Johnson is my favorite coach, and he couldn't talk. So I'm just like, damn, like that has to be a great feeling, like, you know, to be surprised like that, and you know, for him not to be able to even talk. And when I got it, I mean, Chris Carter, me and him, we go way back. You know, he was a guy who, you know, he came to watch me at the University of Miami, and at the time when I met Chris, I wasn't even playing. I was sitting behind Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne, but I was playing special teams. And I don't know what it was he saw with me just running down on kickoffs and punts and stuff like that, but he was just like, man, you're going to be a real special player. So when I got to knocking, I opened the door and I saw him. He was sitting there in his gold jacket. I just was like, man, like, I mean, if you saw the knock, like, I just turned away and, you know, walked off. But I just was in disbelief, like I couldn't believe it. So.
You're an ambassador for the city of Houston and the Texans, obviously since the day you got here. What does it mean to you to be the first Texan to get that gold jacket?
It means a lot. I don't think this was only just for me. I think this was for the whole city of Houston. It's for the organization. I mean, just hearing people talk about, I mean, grown men telling me that they were crying, you know. Having people to tell you, like, you know, that God gave us a superhero here in Houston. You know, those are things that you don't even realize, you know, how people look up to you or you playing a game can affect, you know, the city. So it's been I'm still trying to take it all in, but it's been a great experience so far.
Andre, two-part question. Number one, have you had a chance to really just take it all in, reflect back from day one when you first started playing football? Number two, your mom said that she used to run up and down the sideline when you were scoring touchdowns. Do you remember that when you were in Little League?
Yeah, that her running up and down the sidelines, that was an every weekend thing. You know, during football season. The play, one of my best friends, the play against Jacksonville, when I ran the screen in to win the game, he told me after the game, he was like, man, he was like, your mama ran all the way. He was like, she just ran through the seats, like she ran all the way to the end zone with you. So that's something that she's been doing since I was a little kid. And I always can, like, you know, hear her voice, you know, from the sideline, especially in Little League. But and it's just been, like I say, I'm just like, I tell people, they ask me like, how does it feel? I just feel like I'm on a cloud right now. Like I don't think anything can make me mad.
Can you describe the emotions that go into sitting in that hotel room, waiting for that knock, and what that's like?
To be honest, well, the knock was at my house, so it wasn't in a hotel room. The now it's about they do it differently now. They come to the house, so it's the the whole setup of it was crazy. My agent Kanar, he gave me some bogus story about him putting me in his will to take care of his son, you know, if something happened to him. So he gave me this whole story, and you know, he was like, man, I'm gonna come up, me and my wife gonna come over to the house on Thursday. So I was just like, cool, like I'll be at the house. And he was like, well, we need 2 witnesses there to see you sign these papers. So I was like, all right. He was like, I'm gonna have your mother and brother be those 2 witnesses. So my brother just had a baby, my nephew, on December 16th, and we're sitting in the house. He was like, the lawyer's plane is running late. So I'm like, whatever, like I don't really care about all that. Like we can sign these papers and, you know, get this over with. So I took my nephew outside. I'm just walking around the pool, and he tells my brother to come get me from outside, to come in the house. So I'm assuming that I'm coming in the house to sign some papers and they can go on about their business. And there's a knock at the door, and he was like, can you grab that? So I walk around. I'm in the kitchen, and I walk around and look at the front door, and I see a camera. But I can't see who's actually standing at the door. I could tell there's somebody standing there, and I see I can see him in a gold jacket, but I can't see his face. So right then and there, I was like, I know this is not about to happen. Like, so I open the door, and I mean, you guys saw it. I mean, that's, you know, it was Chris, and I was just like, wow, like this is really happening. So
What was the best part of mingling with the other Hall of Famers out in Vegas? They greeted you and talked with you. I mean, what was the highlight of that?
To be honest, I didn't say much. You know, I didn't really say much. I was standing with Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Darryl Green, Champ Bailey, and it's funny, man, like to hear. So they was talking about when Champ Bailey and Darryl Green, and I think Deion Sanders was there at the time. They were all in Washington, and they was playing against the greatest show on turf, and they were still arguing about it. But I'm sitting there just listening to it. Like, it's like to hear those stories, and it's still competitive. Like, but you know, like they say, we're all on the same team now. But I got to meet Mean Joe Green, and you know, even though those guys are so, you know, a little bit older, they're very welcoming. You know, they really realize the things you've accomplished throughout your career. So for me, I don't really have to, you know, being around those guys, you really want to try to learn from them. Like, it's not really much you can say when you're around them, because you know, those are the guys I watch growing up. So to be in that class with them is great.
Have you thought about who might present you, and also, do you have a favorite play of all time?
A favorite what?
Favorite play, your favorite?
I wouldn't say I have one favorite play. Probably the play against Arizona and the play in Washington. Those are probably my favorites. 2 plays. I had another play my second year in the league where I got flipped against Minnesota, catching a touchdown. So those are probably my favorite 3 plays throughout my career. As far as who may present me, there's 3 people I'm thinking about. I just hadn't really decided on who it would be.
Take 2 or 3 more.
Andre, when you look back at your career, how much like of the success you had in the NFL kind of goes back to your time at the University of Miami, especially like 2001, I think it was, when it was like you, Frank Gore, Ed Reed. So many of you guys went on and did great things in this league.
Well, I think it's crazy. I was just talking about this to one of my friends this morning. Curtis Johnson was my receiver coach in college, and he I remember he used to tell me, he used to be like, man, if you just listen to me, like, he was like, you'll be a top 5 pick in the draft. And you 17, 18 years old, you like, man, I'm not. You're not really worried about that. You know, at that time, you new to college, you know, you're trying to have fun and things of that nature. And I remember it was a point he didn't. I think every receiver who he coached at some point wanted to fight him. He'll probably tell you that. But I mean, he was like, it was probably like the best thing that happened to me. He pushed me in a way like that I never had been pushed before, and he was just like, man, if you listen to me, like, you're gonna be a top 5 pick. And I remember him pulling me into his office one day, and he was like, I'm not trying to get you ready to play against these college guys. I'm trying to get you ready for the NFL. And when we had that meeting that day, things just, after that, it just all took off for me, because everything he told me, I did. And my game elevated, and everything just kind of took off for me. So, you know, being around all that talent, and we would all go back and train in the off season together. So when I would leave here in the off season, I would go back and train with all these guys that are in the NFL that are playing at that high level that you talk about. So the competition was crazy. Like, every day you had to compete, and you had to show, you know, what you were about. I don't care if we were in the weight room, on the field, or just playing basketball. Like, those days were like some of the most competitive days of my life, just being around all that talent and, you know, just being around those great players.
Andre, you talk about the love that you have for this team that you receive from this city and this organization. Can you talk about the personal relationship you have with the McNairs, and, you know, how much they have supported you and how much you've been there for them throughout this process?
Well, I'll tell you this. They probably wouldn't want me to say this, but we had a hell of a time in Vegas. Nah, they've been great. It's been a great ride. It's been a great ride, man. I remember going to Miss McNair house and informing her that I made it. You know, just how happy she was, and, you know, even her, like, she was just like, we're not just partying for one day, we're gonna party all year, you know, like, she was so excited, she was so happy. But what you know, what they've done for me and my family, you know, you can't really repay that, you know. Them taking a chance on me, you know, a young 22-year-old guy, and me being able to do what I've done for the organization. I know that they appreciate it, and they let me know that they do. And, you know, just them telling me how happy they were, and we had some, you know, emotional moments too. So it was just a great feeling to have them there and experience all this with me.
That being said, you've been a finalist the last 3 years, so either the last 2 years, had you gone in, this team would have been in an entirely different spot, so down, for you to go in when they're where they are, for D'Amico to be there, Will, CJ, there's focus on the team. Did that mean something more to you?
Well, I think it was just perfect timing. The first two times that I was a finalist, to be honest, I know I wasn't getting it. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't really, I wouldn't say care, but I just didn't really think about it as much. The crazy thing is, the night before I got the knock, me, Cal, and Hannah and Travis were at the Rockets game, and I remember Cal asking me, he was like, "Do you think you got a good shot this year?" And it's so funny how everything just kind of happened. And I told him, I said, if it's a year for me to go in, it's this year. And he was like, "Really, you think so?" And at that time when I told him that, he already knew. That I found this out later, but he already knew that I was going in. But I don't know, it was just something about this time around. I don't know, I could just feel it. Like, I was like, if it's a time for me to go in, it's this year. So.
What do you want to say? What do you want to say directly to the fans who've encouraged you since the beginning and who want to see you in person in Canton?
Well, to be honest, I already told people in Canton that they better get ready, because Houston's going to show up and show out. So, but just the love I've received from this city and the fans, it's truly been great. It's been a fun time, and I know that they are super, super excited, for this to be happening. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens in Canton, because I know, and I hear it. I could be in a grocery store or wherever, and all you is, if they let you in Canton, we're coming. So I know it'll be a lot of people there, and I know it'll be a great moment for everybody.
Hey, Andre, I know that family's important to you. Can you talk about what your daughter thought about you getting in the Hall of Fame?
She didn't even realize like what was really going on. So she's talked about it. She couldn't she didn't know the whole thing about the knock and all that stuff. So before the previous 2 years, she would be like, "And I wanted you to get in," she would get a little upset, because she wanted me to get in. And then when I got the knock on the door and me and my mother started screaming and we were hugging, if you listen to it, you hear her in the background saying, "What's going on?" She was like, "What's going on? Like, why are these cameras here?" Like, she had no clue. So then my mom told her, that I had made the Hall of Fame, and she was like, "Really?" Like, and that was a good moment for her and my mom. But for her to be there to experience that, I actually took her to Vegas also, so she got to experience everything, because a lot of kids don't get to experience that, So that's something that she'll always remember for the rest of her life.